Okay, brother, it's time. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us continue to pray every day for justice, for peace, especially for Christians who are persecuted. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom,
pray for us.
in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
It's very rare that sisters are late. Okay, brother, we begin this morning a second part of our walk in the logical world. We begin this chapter on judgment and proposition. Judgment is the mental act, and the proposition is the oral expression of my thought, of my mental act. Well, first, in fact, look at your own life. Did you express any judgment this morning? Look at that. Can you tell me a judgment you expressed this morning?
I got out of bed.
Okay, so I was courageous. I got out of bed. It is sunny. I'm tired of logic. You know, I am hungry. The dessert, the breakfast was good for me, etc. Continually, you are late, I am on time. In fact, we judge continually. We judge as we breathe. Because when we think, we put our thoughts together. Our thoughts are not alone. They are united. And when we are unite our concept, you remember the first chapter, it is to discover the concept. What is a concept? What is an idea? So when our idea does not stay alone, they are linked with others. So when two ideas are linked, we have a judgment, essentially. No, it is what we have to study, to understand what is judging. And judging is central in our life, because what is the most important act of my mind? Is it to know what I think? No. It is the beginning. It is how to arrive to a conclusion, reasoning. The result of reasoning is the judgment. So the central act of thinking is judging. Does God reason? Does God make syllogism? No. God knows directly. He knows in himself. Huh? He has the unique act of God is to judge. And with judging, we have everything. Huh? We have everything. So that is the central act of human mind, is judging. It is, in fact, if we understand very well the first chapter, the concept. So if we have a concept, attribute to another concept, another reality, we have a judgment. So judging is to link. Link is the linking of concept together. Well, yeah, we have a series of judgment. In a judgment, we unite. For example, I say, Paul is strong. P, predicate. S, subject. Is that the symbol that is in logic. I saw that as combine. I combine the idea of strength and I apply that to Paul. I attribute. When you study in primary school, we did not see the word predicate. You learn the word attribute. It's the same. Predicare, that means to say about. Predicare. To say, pray about. So the word predicate in English. Predicate. Attribute is the same. Attribute. To give. A tribute to give to someone. Okay? So we give an idea, a concept, something to the subject. We call that a predicate. Predicate, okay? And the subject. We can combine, but we can also divide. I can say John is not strong. He's not able to wake up in the morning. So he's not strong. So here I divide. Okay, donc division or combination. Exclusion, negation, separation, or union. Okay, now defining judgment. Number A. We make continuously judgment as long as we are conscious, as we are awake. Judgment about surroundings and circumstances. Why? Because continually we are receiving object to our senses. And receiving object to our senses, not only we know what is the thing, but because we are in contact with the thing, we are in contact with the reality, with what is outside of us. So there is no more, it is more than a concept. A concept can be independent of reality. For example, the concept of leprechaun. Irish know that. It is an Irish elf. Or the concept of cyclops, or the concept of unicorn, we can imagine. Okay, the concept of Leviathan in the Bible. Those concepts are not linked with the reality. But the judgment, what is the characteristic of the judgment? It is that my thought of a thing is linked with the reality of the thing. If I say John is strong, the idea of strength is not in my mind universally. It is in Paul, in John, So it is always linked with reality. And if my mind is linked with the reality in the judgment, my mind will be true or false. I will be true or false. If what is my mind corresponds to the reality, if I see, for example, this board is green, I say that because in my mind, I know the board is green because of sense experience. I am true. If I say, this board is red, I know the board is red, is green, but I say it's red. So it's not conform to the reality. It can be because I decide to say a lie, or to express something funny, or I make an error in my mind. If I am, for example, blind color, maybe I can say that, I can say that. Okay? So yeah, we have a series of continually, good morning, it's called today, etc. So what is a judgment? It is a mental process in my mind, which obtains proposition. So the expression of my judgment is a proposition. The expression of the conceptualization, it is the word. The expression of judgment is the proposition. In a proposition, you must have a subject, a predicate, and a verb. United, the subject and the predicate. Okay? So it is a proposition by combining or dividing. Combining or dividing, separating. If this proposition, is conform to the real world, what I say, what I write, what I express is conform to the real world, the reality, I am true. So truth is the conformity of my mind to the reality. Okay? If the proposition is not conform to the reality, I say this board is red, I am not true, because it's not conform to the... So what is the criterion of truth? The conformity of my mind to the reality. We call that logical truth. Logical truth, because we see another kind of truth in the future. we call ontological. So truth is the adequatio, that means the conformity, adequatio, equal, the conformity of my mind, intellectus, of my intellect, to the res, reality, res, republic, the thing which is public, that means a republic, the thing that is public. Does not belong to one man, to the king, it belongs to everyone. Public. Okay. So you see, by the way, we see that when I see is a conformity between a predicate and a subject, we see that truth is also a relation. Essentially, truth is a relation. The relation of conformity between the thing and my mind. You remember the 9 categories? Categories, quality, quantity, quantity, quality, relation. Relation. Okay. So what are now the elements of the proposition? So we studied the 3 elements. Yeah? There are 3 elements: predicate, subject, and the link between both of them. So let us begin by the study of the subject. Sub means under, and yectum means place, put, place, thrown, put under. So the subject is under many things. For example, if the subject is Mary, Mary is a being, a human being. Mary is a woman. Mary is the mother of Jesus. Mary is living in Nazareth. Mary is a holy woman, is wise, is pure, is chaste. All those things are in Mary. Subject means you carry the 9 other categories. You know, subject,
Yes.
Sub, under.
Carry.
Of course, when we write like that. Maybe I told you, well, we should write like Chinese. We should write, for example, strong, and after that, in Paul. So Paul is strong. Strong is in Paul, but we write horizontally. Chinese write vertically. That means that you have to understand. Sometimes we use the word without understanding. It's very important to go to the etymology. Substance, you remember? Substance, stay under, to stand under. Subject, to stay under. Object, it is the thing in face of me, you know, outside of me. I see a cat. The cat is the object of my sight. An obstacle, see, obstacle, oppose, oppose, obstacle, object in front of me. It's different. Okay, I continue. So it is the subject which is the foundation of every proposition. The foundation, why? Because it is under, it is under the rest, under the verb and under the predicate. The predicate and the verb are important. Okay? So, because the subject is the foundation of the proposition, it will give to the proposition its extension. The extension of the proposition will depend on the subject. For example, if I say all Americans are human beings, if I say no American is an angel, if I say some Americans are rich, some Americans are not rich, all that indicates the extension of the proposition. So we see that soon, all the extent can be universal, can be particular, it can be singular, Paul, John, one, only one. Okay? We are preparing the rest, you know. I'm putting the foundation for logic is like geometry, it's like mathematics. everything is preparing the thing coming after. So it's important that I insist on that because I am an old teacher, I know. And the problem of my students in the past was I realized they try to learn, but they don't understand. So I try to make them understand. I take the time to start at the beginning slowly. So for example, I explain you the word subject. You know? Why? Because when you see subject, now you will understand that it is under, you know. And because it is under, it will give to the proposition the extension of the subject itself, you know. If I say all men are mortal, or some men are dictators, it's not the same extension of men, huh? Okay? I continue. So from the subject Paul stands as the base for various predicates. Paul is tall, is strong, is good, is a student, or the subject cat can stand for fast, black, mouse, hunter, etc. My subject can be a cat. And I put in the cat all the qualities of the 9 predicaments on the cat, even substance also. Cat is an animal. I have Paul. I can put in Paul all the. That is the essence. That is the visual expression of a judgment, a proposition. Now, in fact, if you look at the subject is determinable. Is in potency to be determined. Paul, for example, can be Catholic, can be Protestant, can be atheist, etc. Huh? So when I say Paul is a Catholic, what do? I determine. So the predicate is determining it. Precising what is the subject. In fact, what is a predicate is to precise the whatness of the subject. Who is Paul? Paul is a seminarian. So I precise something. That, okay? And we saw that, we studied that when we studied the predicable. The way of attributing a subject to, a predicate to a subject. Okay? I go to now, next page. We saw that, in fact, a judgment, it is the attribution of a predicate to a subject. And when we study predicable, in fact, we were already studying the mother of the judgment. The mother of the judgment. That means how the predicate is attributed to a subject. And we saw that the predicate, we call it predicable, the way of attributing. We can attribute a subject in an essential way, as the essence, expressing the essence, or an accident. So the predicate can express either essence, and we start treating, you remember? What are the ways of attributing a predicate to a subject expressing the essence? Genus, specific difference, and species. That is essential. And if you go to that, you have that, huh? You don't have that page?
No.
The division of judgment?
55. Oh yeah, it's on the bottom of 55.
Ah, okay, the 55. Okay. But look at that. You have judgment attributed in an essential way. And you have judgment, predicate. And you have predicate attributed in an accidental way. And we saw there were accidents. And those who come from the essence We call that properties. And the other, they are accidents, inseparable, to play the same thing as a specific difference, or separate. So that here, it is exactly what we want to explain. I put that on page, actually, after the, okay. Okay. So I will come back on that after. Let us go now to the predicate. So the predicate can be attributed in an essential way or in an accidental way. And it is very important to know that, because that will lead us to two kinds of demonstration. Two kinds of demonstration. Because when we demonstrate something essential and something accidental, we don't use the same process. I can demonstrate the show essential through deduction, and I can demonstrate accidental only through induction, experience. For the moment, I will not explain that. I will come back on that chart. That proof, what we studied before, will be used now. In fact, if you want to understand the many kinds of judgment, you must understand the predicable. If you want to understand in logic and syllogism, the different kind of demonstration, you must know the predicable. So that predicable essential, general, specific difference and species, and accidental property, inseparable accident and accident. That should be always printed in your mind. So next page, a predicate now, the predicate. Is that which is asserted, affirmed, applied, said about the subject. It is that reality which asserted to in ear, in the subject as a base. In ear. Ear comes from adhere. You know? That is the word to adhere.
Cling to? Yeah.
Huh?
Cling.
To cling to, huh? For a thing to adhere, you put glue. When you study, you put glue on your chair. You adhere. You adhere. In ear is the same. Huh? It is adhere in. Huh? To stay in. Huh? To cling in. To stay in. Adhere. Huh? In ear. Understand the word. Huh? In ear comes from adhere. In fact, it is the same root. Ear. Adhere. Ear, it is in direction. Ear, it is inside, within. Huh? Okay. So, in the subject as a base. The subject is the base. The subject is the foundation, the subject, and the predicate, adhere. That means enter and stay in the subject. Huh? Adhere. Stay in. Huh? Adhere. Okay. In ear. Whatever the predicate may be, it can be classified under one of the 10 categories. In fact, every time we apply a predicate to a subject, what do we apply? We apply being or mode of being. And what are the mode of being? They are the mode of being, the being and mode of being, the 10 predicaments, the 10 categories.
Oh, 10, yeah.
Eureka! Interesting. Il y a the inside. Immediately when the inside is smile. Don't have a fake smile. Okay, so in here, I apply one of the 10 predicaments. So we have two notions. We come back to what we studied. The notion of predicable and the notion of predicament. And now, I should not be obliged to explain to you what is a predicable, what is a predicament. You should know that. Okay? But I want to stress that what you study will be used continually in the future. You know, we like our house, first foundation. After we put walls, after that we put the roof. Huh? But we must have foundation. We must know understand what is a predicable, what is a predicament. Okay? I go to the text here. So as the 10 kinds of simple material reality, these categories can function as predicates. So the 10 categories of being, or mode of being, can be applied. They can be predicated. They can be attributed to the subject. And when a predicate is a predicament or category is attributed to a subject, we have a judgment. We have a proposition. Okay? So to summarize, the predicate inheres in the subject at its base, and the predicate fall under the 10 categories. So we have some example here. Okay? Now I go to copula. Now we have a subject, we have a predicate, we have a link between them, and that link is called copula. In Latin, copula means link. Link. Okay? So some observation first. The combination of the subject and the predicate indicate the time, because it can be in the past, it can be in the present, it can be in the future. Okay? Secondly, two words put together do not make a judgment. Paul, studying, or strong Paul is not a judgment. Kind Mary is not a judgment. The judgment is Mary is kind. Paul is strong. Okay? That means what makes the judgment? It is the verb. The verb, the copula, is the form of the judgment. The link, the copula, is the form of the judgment. The subject and the predicate are the matter, and the form is. If you have no verb, there is no judgment. You have, it has happened sometimes, you know, people, they say two things, but they cannot make a link between them. I give you an example. A detective, they arrive on the scene of a crime, okay? They observe. There is a corpse there, a dead body, and there is a gun there. And there is here a dress. They see three things. They are not able to make a link. When they will be able to make a link, they will have a judgment, and they can progress in the discovery of the criminal, you know. So we can have, you know, the problem, they learn a lot of things. We call that encyclopedic mind. They know. A good example of that is when you go to Jeopardy. I like that program, Jeopardy, Channel 8. 30 years. In fact, Mr. Trebek, he is a Canadian. So the people know a lot of things, incredible. They know. Is it sufficient? You have to put that together. And in fact, when you write an essay, for example, I asked some of you in my class of philosophy of man to write a little essay, a reflection. What you will do, you will think and put that together. Thing apart has no value. I can know what is that. If I cannot make a link, I cannot progress. I give you another example. Suppose you arrive in a shop. You have many instruments. Many instruments. But you don't know how to unite them, to make a link with them. You know? You have that. You know what we know, but you cannot make. So what is a judgment? It is to make a link between concept, between knowledge. We know many things. Now we put that together. Okay. And to put them together, we need a verb. And what is the verb unifying a subject and a predicate? Is the verb to be. The unique verb in logic. In logic, there is only one verb. Of course, my teacher in literature, they don't like that. They say, don't use the verb to be. I don't want you to use the verb to be. But in philosophy, I want you to use the verb to be, and only the verb to be. What is the meaning of to be? To exist. It is the first act of everything. The most important is to exist. So to be, interesting. If it is the verb to be, that means that the affirmation of my judgment is necessarily linked with the existence of thing, no? Is necessarily linked with the reality. Therefore, if my judgment is necessarily linked with the reality, my judgment is also necessarily linked with truth and falsity. That means everything I judge must be true or false. True if it is conform to the reality, and false if it is not conform to the reality. And why I can say that? Because the soul, the form of the judgment is existence, is the verb to be. But the verb to be has two functions in this. It can express existence, but also verb to be sometimes is the equivalent of colon. For example, man, colon is a rational animal. When you say that, here, do you affirm the existence of man? No. In the concept, we don't affirm the existence. For example, I can try, a cyclops. Column, a man with one eye in the front end. You know? Do I affirm the existence? No. So that here, the verb to be is the equivalent of a column. In fact, it is only a definition. In fact, it is simple apprehension, first operation. When I say a leprechaun is an Irish health, Irish little man, Irish, they met on the street on St. Patrick's Day after 10 bottles of beer. So that is not the existence. It's not existence. It is a definition. So, but when in a judgment, it's not a definition. The judgment is an affirmation of existence. And that goes to what at that page, here, the existence, the judgment which are essential, the judgment who are accidental. We will see that at the end of it. So the copula indicate, it is time-bearing, indicate the time. The copula is related to reality, to existence. In fact, when you have that's very important, I tell you, when you have a proposition, for example, John likes apple. John likes apple. I told you there is only one verb, but you have the right to like. What we have to do? John is one who likes apple. You know? That is the predicate, and you have the verb to be. So that is important for the exercise, because in the language we don't say Mary is one who studies seriously. We say Mary is a serious student. Studies seriously. But instead of studies seriously, in the logic I say Mary is, that means exists, as one who studies seriously. So all the time come back to the verb to be. Okay? So, for more clarity, it is sometimes necessary to change the predicate from the non-copula to the copula form. Farmer feeds cows. The farmer is one who feeds cows. Okay? And that is important, not only for judgment, it's important for syllogism. We have syllogism. In 3 weeks we begin to study syllogism. We must know that. We must know to transform. If you say, those boys, they are fighting against, against I don't know, a dog or another gang, but I have to all the time come back to the verb to be. To be. Okay? I make a remark now. The copula is or was, indicate the time bearing, okay? It does not carry a meaning of existence sometimes. Here, I say that. Here, there is no existence here affirmed by is. It is a definition. Another thing also, I say, John will be a priest. It's not very good English, but become a priest. I want to use the verb to be. Can I say that is true or not?
No.
No. Because the future is not a fact. It is only a probability. So I cannot, there is no truth and no falsity in the future. The falsity is only for facts. Facts are either past or present. For example, I can say, yesterday you were in my class, all of you. I can say this morning, all of you, you are in my class. Can I say with certitude and truth, tomorrow, each of you will be in my class? No. It's a probability. Maybe someone will be sick, absent for any reason. So in fact, the judgment, the truth of judgment is only about the past and the present. The future is only probability, except for God. And for us, we don't know. Okay? Now I go to, so the verb to be or to exist. In fact, we don't say exist. But in fact, when I say John is a golfer, that means John exists as a golfer. But we don't say that. But in my mind, I must know that the verb to be is related to the existence of John. I cannot say John is a golfer if John does not exist. At that time, it's not true or false. If it is, for example, Santa Claus is very generous. He gives many, because he gives many gifts to the children at Christmas. Santa Claus. Is it true?
No.
No. Why? Santa Claus does not exist. Except for those who are 60 years old and less. You understand, huh? So I can say many things, affirm many things, but not everything is true. The criterion of truth is the relation to the existence, to the reality. Now, when I say Santa Claus lives in Canada, you know that, huh? He's a Canadian. You don't believe me? Okay, write a letter to Santa Claus. I give you the code. I said that in the other class. H-O, 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 O-O-O. Is the postal code of Santa Claus. And every year, I told that in the other class, we receive thousands and thousands and thousands of letters from the whole world. From people writing to Santa Claus in Canada. Canada, oh, oh, oh. And believe it or not, every letter is answered. Every letter is answered. Because they are volunteer, about 25,000, 30,000 people working for the post office, entering at Christmas time, they answer every letter. You know why? Because many children, when they write to Santa Claus, they express big, big, big problems. Big problems. abuse, for example. And what they do, they send that to the country, so the country can take care of the case. You know? Santa Claus exists, you can say almost really, but of course it does not exist but in fact it is one of the most important reality at Christmas time for the post office. Those who saw the movie, the 35th Avenue, remember that? And to prove a letter, big bag of letters. And that is continue every year. 1,000 letters from China, from Africa, from everywhere to Santa Claus. North Pole, Canada, not the United States. Something you don't possess. Okay. Now I continue. Now, okay, look at the example. The elephant ivory is valuable. Okay, I refer to something real. Huh? I tell you that angels exist. Huh? God is. What is the one God is? Moses said, "Who are you?" He said, "I am who I am. I am. I am." Finish. I exist. My nature is to exist. Okay? So the verb to be is excessively important. That copula is not a joke. The most important verb in all the dictionary is the verb to exist. Okay? A negative now. If I say does not exist, is not, that means it is a total exclusion. Total exclusion. If I say, for example, Santa Claus does not exist, that means Santa Claus is outside of the existing real being in the universe. A leprechaun does not exist, that means it's totally apart, totally apart. So it is total exclusion. Total exclusion. Here, it is partial inclusion. If you say, for example, Paul is a seminarian. That means in the whole group of seminarians, you have Paul. So seminarian apply to Paul in a particular way. Paul is included in the group of seminarians. Man is an animal, man is in the group of animals. Here it is total exclusion. If I say Paul is not Protestant, because he's a Catholic, he's a seminarian. So you have the group of Protestants here, and you have Paul here. And Paul is totally outside of that group, excluded. Okay? So the verb to be imply the existence of the subject in something, in a group, or the exclusion of the subject from another group. So when you see affirmation, subject is a part of the predicate. When I have a negation, the subject is totally apart from the predicate. Okay?
What?
Yes.
Did they invent those signs just to save time?
Did
they invent those signs just to save time in these? Yeah, just to save time, or?
It can be past, present, future. We don't make the time here.
No, what I'm saying is, in logic, when you're doing a proof, did they do that just to save time? Did they make those signs just to save time in the process of doing it? To make it quicker?
Yes, you know why we do that? Because in the past, the sign was equal. But now the logician, they prefer that to equal. In the past, the sign was that here. Now we prefer that. Okay. It's a convention. Because in syllogism, you go very far, you know, like mathematics. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the characteristic of the proposition. A proposition, when you affirm something, it is a categorical proposition. Huh? Categorical, or assertoric, we say sometimes. Assertoric, to affirm, huh? Assert. Huh? To assert, to affirm. Huh? Affirmative. And the word categorical. In the word categorical, you have the word category. In fact, what is a proposition is to take a category, one of the 10 categories, and apply that to the subject. Categorical. Okay? Or declarative. We say sometimes declarative, assertoric or declarative. We declare, we affirm. Be careful, we can deny also. It's the reason why we don't say affirmative, because negative also are a proposition. If I say, for example, Santa Claus does not exist, huh? It is also assertoric. It is a categorical proposition, but negative. So what is a proposition? It is a composite statement, subject and predicate and verb, copula, which is judged true or false, the formal truth, if it is conform or not conform to the reality. That is the proposition. The proposition is the expression of the judgment. Okay? I continue, next paragraph. The characteristic of the categorical proposition. Well, we have three characteristics we will have to study in detail. We have that on 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. The first, an actual affirmation or denial. It's not a supposition. I cannot say if. I cannot say maybe. No. It is or it is not. That is categorical. Is or not. Okay. Secondly, simple. One subject, one predicate. For example, you cannot say Henry VIII was Catholic and Protestant. It's true, but it's true separately. He was not Catholic and Protestant at the same time. He was Catholic, and after he was Protestant, you know. So that is important. We see that. And finally, it can be judged true or false. Why? Because we saw that every proposition, every judgment is linked with the reality, with existence, with the verb to be. Okay. So therefore, this proposition has two qualities not mentioned in the definition. It must be actually assert or deny. Some predicate to a subject. It is a fact. It's not a supposition. It's not a condition. Because we will see there is other proposition, conditional proposition. If you study well, you will succeed. That is if study, that is conditional. Okay? Secondly, it must stay with the point at hand. That means only one thing. We have not to add something. One subject, one predicate at a time. Like in computing, one thing at a time. If you have many things, you have to separate that. If you say John is a Catholic, is a seminarian, that corresponds to many propositions. John is a Catholic. Second, John is a Protestant, is a seminarian. Second, John is a golfer. You know, so that is the way we proceed in logic. In logic. Okay. Okay. So then and only then the proposition can be judged true or false. So when we have actually a real actual affirmation, that the problem. If there is only supposition, conditional, hypothetical, we cannot have a judgment. It is a condition. It must be actual. That is characteristic of judgment. A judgment is not about supposition. A judgment is about certitude. Something. Okay. First condition: actual affirmation. 2.1. Or denial. So we saw that is the declarative sentence. Declarative proposition sentence. sentence is a proposition. A proposition is a sentence. Okay? And we must be attentive to make the difference between what is a proposition and what is a non-proposition. Because in our language, in all languages, we use words, but those words are not a sentence. And we have that here. We have three: the phrase, the clause, and the non-declarative sentence. So they are not true or false. Falsity, truth is only in the proposition, one predicate, one subject. Okay? Look at that, for example. A phrase is a word of group of words forming a syntactic constituent with a single grammatical function. For example, an adverbial phrase, eating the apple. Eating the apple, John was walking. That means eating the apple is not a proposition, it's a phrase. A large red tomato. Okay? Paul is eating a large red tomato. All that large red tomato is the object of the action of eating. You know, it's a phrase. You have the clause, a group of words containing a subject and a predicate, and functioning as a member of a complex or compound sentence. For example, this ice cream soda, which costs $5, is sweet. So this ice cream soda, what is that? Subject. Which costs $5, what is that? A clause. Does the clause enter in the truth here? No. The clause is not constituting a judgment. For example, you say, John is a golfer. You say, John, who practiced for 10 years, is a good golfer. You practice for 10 years, what is that? A clause. So when you analyze, John is a golfer, you don't take care of that. The clause is not a judgment. It can be a judgment apart, but in the sentence is not a judgment. Okay? Finally, a non-declarative sentence. You give an order, go out, come here, John, come here. It's not a judgment, it's not a proposition. Because John can come, John also cannot come. He can say no, he can say we don't know. So a command, an order, is not a judgment. Okay? Anyway, it is for the future. And a judgment does not, strictly speaking, work on the future because we don't know the future as a fact, but only as a possibility or a probability. Another example, interrogative sentence. Are students present in the classroom? No? So that is not an affirmation, it's not a judgment. Finally, exclamatory. What a beautiful weather it is this morning. That is exclamation, you know. It's emotion. It's emotion. So a judgment must be subject, predicate, linked by the verb to be, existence. Okay? Simple proposition now. Secondly, now the first actual condition, characteristic, the actual, not suppositional, not hypothetical. Secondly, simple proposition. One predicate and one subject. So if you have many predicates, you have to make many. For example, you say, John and Mary are husband and wife. John and Mary are husband and wife. Husband and wife. You have to say, John is husband. Mary is wife. You have to decompose to arrive one subject, one predicate. Of course, the subject is not necessarily singular. It can be also universal, you know. the rule now. One thing of one thing. In fact, we arrive to computering. Huh? 1 or 0, no? By the binary system, we say 1 or 0. All computering is based on that. This rule applies, this no S, only to the simple reality, not to the number of words needed. We can have many words. For example, I can say Jack about trade, or Jack in the box, you know. I can say mother-in-law, 3 words to express only one thing, no? One person, no? My father-in-law, you know. Father-in-law is one thing. Mother-in-law is one thing, one reality. Jack in the box is one reality. That means it is not a word by word, it is the term. A term can be made with many words. For example, Jack in the box, we have 4 words. John in the box. But in reality, there is only Jack, only one reality. You open the box and Jack is happening. Children, they like that. You see, mother, look at that, mother. And the child is happy because he provokes some reaction in the mother. Okay, in fact, when the child is doing that, he is imitating his mother. Because the mother, many times, she provokes. See, I will provoke the mother also. Okay. For example, the human being is a rational animal. In fact, that is one subject, human being. Rational animal is one predicate, because it is species. The species is one reality. The viper is extremely venomous. Okay? But the elephant is huge and dangerous. That's it, the elephant is huge. Secondly, the elephant is dangerous. Here we have 2 propositions. You have to divide. Okay? Paul and Peter are obedient. You must say Paul is obedient and Peter is obedient. Because, why? Because Peter is obedient can be true, and Paul is obedient can be false. You know? So you have to separate in the regard of the truth, and in regard with the reality. Now, the third one, a proposition can be true or false. Can be true or false if the statement does or does not correspond to the way things are in the real world. What I think, what I say, a proposition is not what I think. A proposition, it is what I say. What I write, what I express, correspond to the reality. My proposition is true. But the proposition is the expression of the judgment. I judge that Paul is a good golfer. Because I judge Paul is a good golfer, I have reason for that. I can say, affirm, Paul is a good golfer. That is the proposition. But the proposition must express your thought. When you talk, you express a proposition. That proposition has a meaning only if it expresses what you think. You know, if I learn, for example, in Africa, I said many times the Mass in Ewando and in Bassa, 2 languages of the mission where I was. I did that for about 20 years, 18 years. People understand, I did not understand. I said proposition, and the proposition were true, but in fact they were not really the expression of my judgment. That is very dangerous to say things we don't understand. And sometimes people have fun with that. I have a teacher, a companion, he taught with me. He was, during the war, he was in Italy. Because he was a Canadian, he was taken in a camp of prisoners because he was a Canadian in Rome. He was studying in Rome. And he was sent to a prison in France, a prison for intellectuals. They were doctor, physician, and it was like a university. And they had a lot of fun because they gave them old German soldiers, you know, very old, because they were, and they have fun. It was not very good. the German wanted to learn French. And they are fun. For example, instead of meat, they will say shit. So, and they deform, and they are fun. So that the German says with a goodwill thing, and the people will have fun like that. We can do that with any language, no? If I don't know Vietnamese, I ask you, how would you say in Vietnamese, thank you? And you say, go to hell. Huh? So another one, they say, thank you, I will say, go to hell. What I say has no meaning, you know. So I must express what I think, and that my proposition is true when what I say corresponds to what I think, and what I think corresponds to what it is in the reality. Huh? So I can know the reality, my judgment can be true, but my language, my expression can be false. We call that a lie. Huh? What is a lie? You know the truth, but you don't tell the truth. You said the opposite of the truth. You know? So your proposition does not correspond to your judgment. Like those who said instead of meat, you say shit. Huh? It's not very beautiful to say that. My sister worked for embassy. One of my six sisters worked for Canadian embassy, and she was in Oslo, Norway. And with the ambassador, she was a woman, he studied Norwegian, huh? Because they try to understand a little bit by politeness when they have a meeting to say. And when they studied, they discovered that meat in Norwegian is shit. So of course they laugh. It's normal, huh? You know. So if I use a word, the word does not correspond to the reality. As that happened, we can say a bad word instead of a good word. You remember the sister? She said, "Tengo hombres." Huh? You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Huh? Tengo. I have many men. Huh? In fact, instead she wanted to say, "I am hungry." Tengo hombre. Huh? And she said, "Oh no, I'm sorry. Estoy embarazada. I am pregnant." So, but it's the same in proposition. We can use a wrong word to express something. We can use also a wrong proposition to express some truth. You know? So there is a distinction between proposition and judgment. You understand that? Huh? And when you study ethics, what is a lie? It is when I say, I write a proposition, I express a proposition that does correspond to what I know that is truth. In fact, a liar, he knows the truth, but does not tell the truth. He knows the truth. His judgment is correct, but his expression is not the same. No? That is a lie, and that is ethics, not logic. Huh? I continue. So the truth, what is that? Is the conformity, correspondence between the reality and my mind. We have that. There is, in fact, there is no truth in simple apprehension because we don't put together things. We have not the verb to be. For example, to know what is a cyclops. A cyclops is a man with one eye in the forehead. It's not true. It's not false. It is only a definition, you know. I don't affirm the existence of the cyclops. Okay? So in simple apprehension, there is no truth. But in judgment, there is truth. Because I unite two concepts, two things, and if the union of the thing corresponds in my mind to the reality, I am true. So the truth essentially is a conformity of the mind, intellectus, to the reality. Okay? I continue. Accidentally, the act of simple apprehension can lead to falsity and error. When I make a mistake, I don't have the real notion of what is a thing. Of course, I can affirm something wrong about that thing, you know. Truth and falsity are a property of the combination or division of this concept in the act of judgment. A concept alone is neither true or false. Cyclops is not true or false. Leprechaun is not true or false. Okay? And the proposition is the expression of the concept. So it is primarily the proposition which is conform or not to the reality, is fitting the reality, matching with the reality. So strictly speaking, truth is in the judgment. It's not in the reasoning, it's not in the concept, it's the judgment. When I was a brother of Christian instruction, I remember what are the conditions to become a brother, teaching brother. First, to be baptized. Second, to have a good judgment. Good judgment. So studying philosophy should develop a good judgment. Okay, that type of proposition now. Okay. Now, the proposition, if you look at what we studied from the beginning, is made with a predicate and a subject, but a proposition can be affirmative or negative. We call that the form of the proposition or the quality of the proposition. The quality of the proposition, the form of the quality of the proposition. So negative or affirmative. Okay? And the main verb, the link, when it is affirmative, in fact, it affirms that the link between the predicate and the subject is in the reality. Always a judgment is linked with the reality. Therefore, always a judgment is linked with truth. We cannot judge without affirming the truth or denying the truth. Okay? Okay, now the remark. A negative subject or a negative predicate does not make a negative proposition. For example, if I say, a non-Christian cannot be baptized. I cannot become a priest. A non-Christian cannot become a priest. Non-Christian is the subject. I can say a non-Christian is preparing for baptism. So the proposition can be affirmative, but the subject can be a non. A non-Christian, that means everybody except a Christian. You understand that? Huh? That if I say, for example, a cat is a non-dog. Suppose I say it's true, no? A cat is a non-dog, no?
No. No, yeah, it is.
Well, non-dog is the predicate, is affirmative, cat is the subject. So the non is not on the verb, the non is on the predicate. For example, S, non-P. The predicate is denied, but the verb is, we saw that when no, we will see that because I think about the other class, conversion. We study that next class. Okay? Now, the extension. The extension, that means that we saw the subject is the foundation of the proposition. You remember that? Huh? So the subject can be universal. Huh? It can be particular. It can be singular. It can be indefinite. Subject can be universal. Which I say, all Americans are human. Huh? All dogs are non-rational, etc. Huh? That is universal. If I say some American, some seminarian, some Catholic is particular. That means a part of the all Catholic, some Catholic do not pay their tithes. A part of. If I say now, John is a Catholic, that is John, it is singular proposition. Singular. And finally, if I say student are attentive, I say men are rational animals. That is, we don't precise if it is all student or if it is some student with a student. We call that indefinite. So how we can know the proposition will be universal or particular depending on the link here. If the predicate is linked to the subject in an accidental way, it is a particular. That means some students are attentive. When I say students are attentive, that does not mean every student, in general. In general. But there can be some exception. Some exception. So that, when you have it, that is important. When you have indefinite proposition, and the predicate is linked to the subject in an accidental way, you have a particular. You can say some student. Okay? Now, if the predicate is linked with the subject in an essential way, that means the essence of man to read, that you see at that time it is universal. So I say, birds have wings. Now, if you say birds have wings, it is universal because it's a characteristic of a bird to have wings. Fish, they swim under the water, in the water. When I say that, it is for every fish. But if I say fish are appreciated by human beings, well, it's true, but not everyone likes fish. Someone they never eat fish. So we can say is a particular. So the criterion to know if an indefinite proposition is universal, it is when it is necessary link, essential link between the predicate and the subject. If the predicate and the subject is not, the link is not necessary, it is a particular proposition. So now, if we mix both of them together, I will finish by that before you take a good meal. You have form, it is the quality, affirmative or negative, and you have the extension universal and particular. We don't take care of the other. Why? Because John entered in the particular, and excepting when it is a contradiction. So I can say universal affirmative. Universal affirmative is A. Particular affirmative is I. Universal negative is E. A particular negative is O. So when you see A, it is a universal negative. When you see E, it is a universal negative, affirmative, negative, particular, A. So now you have to learn A, E, I, O. Make down the ladder from E, I, O. A, affirmative. Affirmative, universal. I, affirmative, particular. E, negative, universal, negative, and O, particular, negative. So next class we work on that, and we will come on that paper here. That's very, very important. We see that next week, next class. Good appetite. The dinner will be good. It's not a certitude. It's not true. It's only a probability.
Hopefully.
Is it stuck, brother? It's stuck? I don't want it. They record on my stupid screen. Oh,